Have you ever taken a close look at the map of the Middle East? Have you noticed that, in a way, a complete military belt has formed around Iran? Why is the United States, thousands of kilometers away from its own soil, here so heavily and seriously? Why is its largest air base in the Middle East located in the middle of the deserts of Qatar? What exactly is its massive Fifth Fleet, which is currently anchored in the Kingdom of Bahrain and constantly monitoring the Persian Gulf, doing here? And why does it even maintain sophisticated radar sites deep inside Israel that monitor regional missile threats every single moment of the day? Here it is no longer just about maintaining a strategic military presence. It is about establishing a firm sense of deterrence, about exerting significant geopolitical pressure, and about being fully prepared for complex scenarios that might never happen, or those that might one day suddenly change everything. In this video, we're going to take a close look at where exactly the US has established bases and why these specific locations were chosen. What role does this network play in the Iran-Israel equation? And even more significantly, is this extensive military strategic arrangement truly meant to focus on maintaining regional security? Or is it for a war that has not yet commenced? This video isn't just a simple review of the military bases. It's a deep look at a map that's actively shaping the entire future of the region. So be sure to not miss the important ending. As we mentioned at the beginning of the video, the United States has surrounded Iran twice over, with a massive and powerful wave of its military bases. But the important question is, could this be a random coincidence, or has someone meticulously and strategically arranged this chessboard in advance? When you open up the map of the Middle East and mark the locations of the US bases, a clear and deliberate pattern emerges, one that's not scattered or random at all. From Bahrain in the Persian Gulf to Kuwait and Iraq, from Qatar and the UAE to Saudi Arabia and Jordan, as well as the direct or even indirect presence of the US in both Israel and Syria. This scale, this distribution, and all of these military bases together, especially in the most sensitive region in the entire world, can't be a coincidence. According to a report by the Council on Foreign Relations, the US currently has nearly 30 active military bases in the region. While some are permanent, some are temporary, some fly the official US flag, and others operate under titles like defense cooperation or in direct partnership with host countries. But whatever it's called, its function is the same. The basic idea behind this arrangement is simple, but it is ruthlessly precise. In every location where there's oil, wherever there's a critical maritime strait, wherever an important air route passes, and wherever there's a potential enemy, it must be under direct US coverage. This isn't just about strategic military presence and positioning. The point here is that if one day things were to spiral out of control, the distance between the US and the conflict zone should be a mere matter of a few minutes flight time. But this is just the beginning of the story. Now, an exceptionally important question arises here. Out of all these countries, why has the US chosen exactly these specific spots? The real answer cannot be found on the map. It's in the strategic framework of military logic. Because each of these countries represents an absolutely essential and vital piece of the puzzle of America's military power in the Middle East. Bahrain is a small island nation, but it plays a very important role. This is where the headquarters of the US Navy's Fifth Fleet is located. This is the same fleet that is designated as the US Fifth Fleet. This means it serves as the primary heart of America's naval operations throughout the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Arabian Sea, and vast parts of the Indian Ocean. It is from this very location that critical oil tanker routes are monitored, vital international shipping lanes are carefully overseen, and American combat vessels are strategically managed. Simply put, if even the slightest tension occurs anywhere in the region's volatile waters, Washington is informed thereof almost instantly. Now, let us turn our attention to the nation of Qatar. If you had to name just one single facility that serves as the true backbone of America's air presence in the region, it would undoubtedly be the Al Udeid Air Base. As the single largest American air base in the Middle East, it serves as the primary home for about 10,000 military personnel. And even more significantly, the forward headquarters of the United States Central Command, CENTCOM. CENTCOM is one of the 10 main unified commands of the United States, overseeing operations in the Middle East, parts of North Africa, and Central Asia. This means it covers everywhere from Iran and Iraq to Afghanistan. Its primary responsibility is to coordinate and direct ground, air, naval, and special forces operations within this specific region. The forward headquarters of this command is located right here at Al Udeid. From this central hub, air operations are coordinated, reconnaissance missions are carefully planned, aerial refueling is carried out, air defense is managed, and vital cooperation with international allies is organized. Simply put, this place is the operational brain of the United States in the region. Kuwait. Kuwait is a country that might not often make headlines, but it plays an important and strategic role on the global war map. Bases like Camp Arifjan and Ali al-Salem are not just places where military troops are stationed. This is a major logistics hub for the entire region. That means if a major crisis arises, the transfer of troops, heavy equipment, tanks, munitions, and essential operational support all happen from this very point. In fact, without Kuwait, the rapid mobility of the United States military forces in the region would be severely limited. When you put these 3 points together, you see a clear strategic pattern. The Navy is stationed in Bahrain, command is headquartered in Qatar, and support is based in Kuwait. This isn't just about troop deployment. This is the comprehensive design of a complete operational chain in the very heart of the Middle East. And this is just one piece of the puzzle. And then there's the UAE. The strategically located Al Dhafra Air Base in the Emirates is one of the most important centers for U.S. air operations. This is the location where advanced drones, reconnaissance planes, and sensitive intelligence missions are launched. According to official reports from U.S. Air Forces Central, it was from this very base that activities of the Islamic State were closely monitored. To put it simply, this place serves as America's watchful eyes, not just its powerful fist. To clarify, when I say Islamic State, which is also sometimes called ISIS or ISIL, I am referring to an extremist Islamic terrorist group that emerged in Iraq and Syria. Their goal is to establish an Islamic caliphate in the region according to their own interpretation, without the current national borders. Of course, their main activities were primarily around 2013 to 2014, during which they captured a large part of northern Iraq and eastern Syria. They carried out brutal assaults against innocent civilians, minorities, and government security forces. They used terror and public executions, and made extensive use of media and the internet to recruit new members and broadcast their threats. More specifically, the presence of ISIS, which is one and the same as the Islamic State, just under a different name, led the United States and its allies to significantly expand their military bases and operations in Iraq and Syria, to effectively prevent the further spread of this extremist group. The United States' presence in Iraq and Syria was far more extensive than simply fighting ISIS. According to the Library of Congress, these bases have evolved into strategic centers for training local forces, the collection of vital intelligence, coordinating complex operations, and monitoring various regional movements. What makes this strategic military presence even more sensitive is the specific geographical positioning of some of these bases. Their relatively close proximity to Iran's borders has consistently kept the level of tension and political sensitivity extremely high. Moving our attention now to Saudi Arabia and Jordan, where the primary area of concern is on missile defense. Advanced systems like the Patriot and THAAD have been deployed for a single critical purpose: Their mission is to quickly detect incoming missile threats and intercept them well before they can make impact. In other words, if a missile is launched, it is stopped high in the sky before it ever reaches its intended target. These participating countries form an essential part of the region's air defense shield. And now, Israel. The US does not have extensive classic bases in Israel like it does in Qatar, but the defense and intelligence cooperation between the two countries is at the highest possible level. The United States early warning radar sites stationed in Israel are a critical part of the network for detecting potential incoming missile threats in the region. These advanced radars are specifically designed to detect such threats in the early stages of their launch. At this point, it is not just about physical troop deployment, it is about seamless real-time data sharing and the complex missile defense coordination between the two nations. Now, when you add the UAE, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel to Bahrain, Qatar, and Kuwait, the strategic picture truly becomes complete. This includes sea, air, and land operations, plus logistics, defense, and early warning systems. Altogether, these elements form a multi-layered network, what many experts refer to as America's military ring around Iran. But here is the main question we need to consider. Is this ring really designed solely for deterrence, or is there more to its purpose? Or could it, under certain circumstances, actually become the launchpad for a conflict? The next part goes directly into this very question. There are several scenarios in which this network could be activated and deployed during a crisis situation. This is where the disagreements begin. One perspective says these bases are tools of deterrence. That is, they're designed so that the other side thinks twice before taking any action, knowing that if they make a move, they'll get a swift and immediate response. But another viewpoint argues that this level of dispersion isn't just about deterrence. It's about maintaining constant readiness for larger scenarios. Not necessarily the start of a war, but a state of alert for a large-scale conflict. Of course, some military analysts, they issue an even more important warning. They say, having a large number of bases doesn't always translate to absolute power, and it could actually create significant vulnerabilities. This dispersion means having more targets, which in the event of a conflict means multiple vulnerable points. So it ultimately brings both power and significant risk. And now, a more sensitive question. What is the significance of these bases for both Iran and Israel? For Iran, these aren't just military installations, they're instruments of pressure. Every maneuver, every troop movement, every reconnaissance flight directly factors into Tehran's security calculations. Even a military exercise or the relocation of a defense system can change the level of alertness. In other words, the very presence of these bases is itself part of the equation of tension. But for Israel, this network acts as a protective umbrella. This does not mean that the United States would fight directly on behalf of Israel, but rather that Israel is never completely alone. Behind it stands an extensive intelligence and strategic military support structure. And this is exactly where the situation becomes much more complicated. Because if tensions cross over a certain critical threshold, these very bases that were designed for deterrence can very quickly enter a phase of real, active conflict. From my perspective, the Middle East today is a place where even the slightest miscalculation could set off a series of domino-like reactions. Sometimes the gap between warning and action is just a matter of minutes. And this is the main question. Does this level of military presence really create security? Now it's your turn. Do you think these military installations are a source of stability or the potential catalyst for the next crisis? Be sure to share your detailed thoughts with me down in the comments. But at the end of the story, maybe the secret that so many are searching for is that these bases were built to control various scenarios. This ensures that the United States always has a viable option on the table in any possible situation, and maybe that is the most important lesson of this story. True power isn't just about missiles and military bases. Real, enduring power is found where you strategically set up the game in such a way that, long before any shots are ever fired, the other side is forced to rethink their position.